an incident she was constantly called on to describe. She was charming, clever, pretty, unhappy, but it was none the less the thing to which she had originally owed her reputation. Being at the age of 18 somewhere abroad with an aunt, she had had a vision of one of her parents at the moment of death. The parent was in England, hundreds of miles away, and, so far as she knew, neither dying nor dead. It was by day, in the museum of some great foreign town. She had passed alone, in advance of her companions, into a small room containing some famous work of art, and occupied at that moment by two other persons. One of these was an old custodian. The second, before observing him, she took for a stranger, a tourist. She was merely conscious that he was bareheaded and seated on a bench. The instant her eyes rested on him, however, she beheld to her amazement her father, who, as if he had long waited for her, looked at her in singular distress, with an impatience that was akin to reproach. She rushed to him with a bewildered cry, "Papa, what is it?" But this was followed by an exhibition of still livelier feeling, when, on her movement, he simply vanished, leaving the custodian and her relations, who were at her heels, to gather round her in dismay. These persons, the official, the aunt, the cousins, were therefore in a manner witnesses of the fact, at least, of the impression made on her, and there was the further testimony of a doctor, who was attending one of the party, and to whom it was immediately afterwards communicated. He gave her a remedy for hysterics, but said to the aunt privately, "Wait and see if something doesn't happen at home." Something had happened. The poor father, suddenly and violently seized, had died that morning. The aunt, the mother's sister, received before the day was out a telegram announcing the event, and requesting her to prepare her niece for it. Her niece was already prepared, and the girl's sense of this visitation remained of course indelible. We had all, as her friends, had it conveyed to us, and had conveyed it creepily to each other. 12 years had elapsed, and as a woman who had made an unhappy marriage, and lived apart from her husband, she had become interesting from other sources. But since the name she now bore was a name frequently borne, and since, moreover, her judicial separation, as things were going, could hardly count as a distinction, it was usual to qualify her as "the one, you know, who saw her father's ghost." As for him, dear man, he had seen his mother's. I had never heard of that till this occasion, on which our closer, our pleasanter acquaintance led him, through some turn of the subject of our talk, to mention it, and to inspire me, in so doing, with the impulse to let him know that he had a rival in the field, a person with whom he could compare notes. Later on, his story became for him, perhaps because of my unduly repeating it, likewise a convenient worldly label, but it had not, a year before, been the ground on which he was introduced to me. He had other merits, just as she, poor thing, had others. I can honestly say that I was quite aware of them from the first. I discovered them sooner than he discovered mine. I remember how it struck me, even at the time.